Hi, I'm Rowan.
And I'm Calvin.
And you're watching episode 26 of season 2 of In the Zone.
So,
After this, only 4 more episodes, and then we get to the zone. No, only 3 more episodes after this. 7, 8, 9. Yeah, and then we're in the zonies. Zonies. The Zonies are our annual humorous Twilight Zone awards show. Lots of great awards to be handed out. Worst kid, dumbest thing, best twist, all kinds of stuff. And also, Zach and Calvin, my co-hosts, will be battling it out in a bunch of Twilight Zone-based games. Last year, Zach won. Let's see if he can defend his crown.
By 1 point.
By just 1 point. Alright. What the heck? Did someone break into our house?
A couple nights ago,
Someone broke into your house?
No, I couldn't fall asleep because I kept hearing footsteps. It was that night where it was raining a ton. I kept hearing I heard our front door open. I heard the wall. So I stood out in the hallway with my trombone case, ready to whack someone in the head.
Well, that's awesome that you were ready with the trombone
I
case.
tried to get my parents' attention, but they were sleeping. They were really cranky. Eventually, it just stopped, and I was I just went to bed.
Whoa.
But that's probably how I got this cold, is I stayed up really late.
Today we're going to be discussing the Twilight Zone episode Shadow Play. We'll be spoiling the whole thing, so you can check it out beforehand if you don't want it spoiled for you now. And we start in a courtroom. It's very good looking. It's darkness. It's just this one guy sitting there, Adam Grant, our protagonist. And then the lights come on. A little at the time. First it's his lawyer, and then everything. It gets the audience captivated right away. Whoa, what is going on? Where are they? It's brilliant.
And then the jury comes in.
They've reached the verdict. They say that Adam Grant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
No, I thought it was second degree.
No, the first degree. They're the defendant may rise. He rises. They're anything
usual court stuff.
Anything you want to say, and
he freaks
nothing.
out.
And then he's sentenced to death, and then by electrocution. He laughs, no! And then he says, I can't die again, over and over.
Yeah.
And it's a good mystery because the audience is thinking, what does he mean by that? He tries to attack the judge and they have to hold him back. And he explain, it's a dream, it's all a dream. Fade to black. Fade up, and he's in the prison, and
someone's playing the harmonica.
The point is that all these people in the court, in the prison, as we'll later find out and explain, they're all supposed to be cliches. It's all supposed to be a cliche.
Yeah.
So there's the guy going, oh, you're prison by the mother. And then there's the guy playing on the harmonica. It's so clever. Also because when you first see it, you immediately think, oh, this is so dumb and so cliched, that you immediately feel superior to it. So then when it starts becoming more subversive, then you get sucked in a more interesting way because you weren't expecting it to be, so interesting. Adam Grant, main guy again, screams, cut it out, cut off the dang harmonica. The guy's sorry. And he's no, it's alright, I probably got you out of a bad movie somewhere he saw once, because his idea is it's a dream, and he saw a movie where a guy in the prison was playing the harmonica, and then that went into his subconscious, came out projected through the dream. And then there's another prisoner who's you shouldn't think about it or else you'll crack up like Phillips.
And then it's
the cliche, oh mother. And then the other prisoner across from him is oh, I wonder what it's gonna be like. And Adam's I know what it's like. He explains it in detail, talks about
to the room.
Yeah, and then there's 78 steps. I think the episode is almost completely perfect. I think one of the things I would have liked to have seen is if there was some indication where they're oh yeah, there are 78 steps and that door is green. There's no way he could have known that. Sort of in 22, how it's room 22 is the morgue, and it's how could she have known that unless she actually went there? I think that would have been a really, really nice touch. They don't have it, but, he talks about how they crop the mask, and then they pull the switch, and then they cut to meat coming out of an oven, which is sort of a joke, because it's sort of funny, and it's also sort of jarring because you don't have such weird scene transitions. The scene just abruptly ends, and it's cool. It feels very modern how they don't have a fade or anything.
Yeah.
It's just an abrupt. Yeah, it's very cool. We're at the district attorney's house, and then the drunk guy, Paul Carson, who's the newspaper editor who was at the trial, he shows up. He's drunk.
He's live a little, drink, be merry.
And he's very sad because he's sort of convinced by Adam's story about the whole dream. It's sort of crazy that just this idea of this guy, Paul, just realizes that he isn't real. You know, isn't that just so amazing? It's like in The Lateness of the Hour when she realizes she's a robot. It's just like even more deep here. It's like, I'm not a real person and I have that knowledge. It's really crazy. One problem with the episode, like he's drunk in this first scene. Next time you see him like minutes later, just completely sober. Just all of a sudden, just no explanation.
That's the point though. It's supposed to be like a movie.
You're right, it's a dream. It's a dream, and it doesn't make sense.
They did it on purpose. That's the point.
I don't think they did it on purpose, but it can be excused in that way. He's saying that there's only a few more hours until they execute him. He believes Adam's story, and he believes that he will die if Paul dies. If Adam dies, so he wants to keep himself alive. It's just a really good episode. This is like interesting stuff right here. Yeah. And also last week, when I was wearing the same shirt, by coincidence, last week, yes, good point. Last week when we discussed The Silence, I criticized The Silence and other second season episodes for just not having a lot happening.
Yep.
This has a lot happening. It's great. No padding. It's like, this episode is like everything that you want from a Twilight Zone episode. The district attorney, Henry, or Hank, but I don't know if Hank, is that like a nickname for Henry?
Yeah, it is.
He doesn't believe him for the remainder of the episode. He never believes him. And I think that's good, because I think it would be a little bit unrealistic if more than one person believed it, because it was so unbelievable. I think it's perfect that they have just the right enough people for the plot to get moving. So Paula's like, well, you can't prove he's wrong, and then Hank says, well, that doesn't mean anything. You can say that about anything. And the expository dialogue is pretty good. I don't like the way they get the person to say their name. It's not that good when he's like, a little part of Hank Ritchie. I think that's a little bit dumb. But then when he's like, you must think it's a dream being the district attorney and having a lovely wife, that kind of thing. It's pretty good. Hank, the district attorney, thinks that Adam Grant has convinced himself that it's a dream because all this bad stuff has been happening, which is a really, good argument. Paul is like, that's what I thought at first, but then I've been talking to him a lot, and, it's like, he's really convinced, and he wants Hank to talk to him too, and so he goes. Meanwhile, at the prison, Adam finds out from the other prisoner who checks his watch that it's 9:05, and he's like, oh, someone must be coming. The district attorney, I'm expecting him, because he always comes around this time. And then Adam realizes, wait a minute, prisoners can't have watches when they're about to be executed, and that's one of those things that's so great because, they wouldn't, but it's not such an obvious detail that, like, theoretically someone could somehow get away with having a watch in there, like if they snuck it. It's all this stuff that's, like, unrealistic, but not so unrealistic that it definitively proves his dream theory. So Hank, the district attorney, comes, and Adam is like, well, it comes up that, like, the district attorney is someone different every time. Yeah. I think it's really brilliant how they emphasize the element of dreams where people are playing different roles than they are in real life. They talk a lot about that in the episode, and I think that's great because that's one of the things that
that makes it cool.
Yeah, and it's realistic because that's something that happens in dreams, but not a lot of dream-based like movies and TV shows mention that.
Yeah, it's original.
Yeah. So the acting in this episode, it's so great, especially in this scene with the district attorney. They are clearly so deep into their characters that it's not even acting anymore. They're just building off of each other so much. It's so nice to watch. The district attorney wants Grant to explain his whole idea. And he says that when I die, you die, because no one in this world exists. It's my world. I make it exist. So if I'm gone, you're all gone. So that's why you should help me. And he's like, you would not be allowed to visit a man who was about to be executed. Right. So that's another thing that doesn't make sense. This is a subtle thing. I actually missed it when I was putting down my notes, but I've seen this episode like 2-3 times before. But he like mouths the district attorney's words when he says them, because he says them every time, and that's really a cool touch. District attorney is like, so what about the people you've never met? And he's like, the dream world builds itself because the only people that exist are the people I think of. Otherwise, they're just theoretical. But then the guy's like, so why are you scared then? And he's like, because it hurts, because it's so real. But this part, I think, is the problem with the episode, sort of. Because, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Oh, I have a bad dream every night. Whatever, just go the next day. It's not like he's trapped in a dream. I don't know. It's just a recurring dream. Yeah. It's just a recurring dream that he has It doesn't seem like too much to freak out about, in my opinion. And then he sort of is like describing it so much, and he's like, oh, I'm so bad. And then he like sort of like gets up in the district attorney's face. So, and they're like worried he's gonna attack him, so they take the district attorney away. And the guy's like, wait a minute. You have to keep me alive so I can keep you alive.
Right.
And he says, wait a minute, I'll prove it. Your wife was cooking a steak.
Oh.
Oh, he knew that. But now he'll be cooking something different. And then he goes and it's a roast, which is like a chicken thing.
I don't know.
He could have made
beef.
it, you know, I think he should have made it, for the purposes of the episode, should have made it something more obviously different, like a big...
Baguette.
Oh, a baguette, yes. But anyways, yeah, that's the stinger. Fade to black.
What I don't get is why doesn't he just dream up them actually proving it and then...
Yeah, that's a very good point. That is a plot hole that...
Maybe he doesn't have full control over them.
No, but he has the capability to turn a steak into a roast. He has a capability to change things, but it doesn't make sense that he would also not have the ability to get them to be convinced to have mind control and all that. That really, doesn't make sense. Fade up. Adam is talking to the prisoner across from him who was like, well, if you tell the story to the governor, he'll let you out on insanity, maybe.
Right.
And then Adam's like, it's not insanity. He's like, I got tried and sentenced on the same day. That doesn't make sense. It's like, and like everything here is like a movie cliche because all I know are the movies because I've never been in prison. So that's my only frame of reference, and so that's what appears, that becomes my world. And so then at the district attorney's house, he and Paul are like freaking out and his wife is freaking out too. And there's 15 minutes left. And so the district attorney still, it's like, even with all this stuff, it's still like, well, I'm a real guy. I'm not a tree. Paul, the editor, is like, well, then why is it always at midnight, the executions? That's like in movies. That doesn't make sense for them to do that every time in real life. The district attorney's like, because that's just the way it is. So then Paul just argues with him, well, if that won't convince you, then just assume he's insane and try to get him out on that. And then the district attorney reluctantly calls the
I'm gonna regret this
governor.
For the rest of my life.
Meanwhile, the other prisoner is mocking at him. He's like, oh, don't worry, it's all a dream. Then the priest dude comes in and he's like, is there anything you want to say? No.
Like, no, praying is not worth anything here.
That's what Adam says, yeah. He's like, it's just a nightmare. And then he's like, I wonder where your face is from. Oh, right, you're Mr. Beeman. Father Beeman from Spring Hill. Oh, you died when I was 10.
When he was like a children and all that
When
stuff.
he was like a children.
Oh, yeah.
You have to...
I'm an old man.
Is that... Wait, talk normal.
I'm actually, like, talking normal. I can clear my voice.
Can't?
Oh my gosh. It's happened a couple times before. My voice is just like...
You don't seem very fit to be doing an In the Zone episode. Maybe you cut your vocal cords out, like the silence.
Alright, anyway, so, yeah. Okay.
Alright. How does that happen? Alright.
I have a terrible cold.
Alright, so anyways, it's talking about how, oh yeah, when you died, then a young priest replaced you. Oh yeah, that's Paul Carson, and then the district attorney. Who's he? Maybe some teacher or a friend of Dad's.
My voice is like sort of back. No.
Yeah, it's sort of bad. It's better.
Yeah, like a tiny bit. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little less weird. They take him out to go to the chair. So then, meanwhile, back to the district attorney's office, he's like, the governor is about to place a call down at the prison. This is exciting because it's like, ooh, is he gonna call in time? All that
but
stuff.
Long story short. Long story short.
It doesn't work out.
It doesn't work.
So they pull the switch and then the phone rings.
Yeah.
And the execution scene is sort of disturbing in a good way. It's like creepy. But then we get a shot, and this is sort of a subtle, really cool thing. When we're over in their house, they're standing around. Some of the stuff disappears off the walls. Like,
really?
Yeah. It's hard to see, but like the clock disappears, and it's like, whoa, because like, you know, he's dreaming and all the stuff from the world is fading away. So then we're back in the courtroom. I guess presumably the next night of him going to sleep. It's a shot-for-shot recreation of the opening scene, except everyone is different. Like, for example, another prisoner is like the judge, and Paul Carson is the jury guy. So it's very cool. That's the end of the episode.
I thought it was great all around. Really good for season 2.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best ones in season 2, for sure.
Yeah, it's just really good. It's just everything you want. Pretty much flawless.
What?
The flaws are, well, if you can make that.
Like the flaws are like.
They're pretty tiny.
Like it's like it doesn't ruin the episode. It's just like a suggestion. Like that would be sort of cool to add to it.
Yeah, I think really we've talked a lot in the plot summary, all the stuff that's great about it. To the extent that I don't think there's a lot more to say. Is there anything more you have to say?
Nope. 10 out of 10.
It's a little less dramatic when you're like a quiet old man, but yeah. I'm wondering if this deserves a 10. I feel like it has to, because this is, this is it. This is what it is. This is what we do the show for. I think I can safely say without any regrets, this is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10. 10.
Alright, well maybe next episode will be as good. We'll be discussing the mind and the matter. I hope you see us then.
The mind is made of matter.